Chapter 51-25. In the next moment, the white dragon's figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. When she saw the white dragon's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's clear eyes flashed with astonishment. "Linger, you can come out now?" Previously, due to the restrictive spell, the white dragon had been unable to come out. She never thought that it would suddenly come out now. The white dragon nodded. "After entering the ruins, the restrictive spell has disappeared. I can come out now." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "It's probably because the Chaos Ring used to belong to the owner of the ruins. There's only one main hall here. I can't see anything else. What should we do next?" Bailey Hongzhuang scanned her surroundings. She had hoped to meet the remnant consciousness of the original owner because they were simply too connected by fate. However, from the moment they had entered the main hall, it seemed that they could not find any other breakthrough. Di Beichen looked around as well. The ruins they had encountered in the past had not been like this. Back when they had entered their master's ruins in the lower realm, they had experienced endless dangers in the beginning before they had finally obtained the inheritance. However, the ruins before them had an unprecedented sense of peace. Even the Bridge of Attributes had not shown any signs of danger. Even though everything before them was unclear, they could sense that the owner of the ruins was very calm. "Let's look around." Di Beichen's voice was warm and mellow. He could not find any breakthrough in the situation before them either. However, just as the two of them were about to look around, a melodious voice suddenly rang out in the main hall. "I never thought that we would be so fated." The soft and gentle voice was like a spring breeze, stirring up ripples in one's heart. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression turned solemn. Even though she could not see the other party, she still bowed respectfully. "Senior, the Chaos Ring has fallen into your hands." "That's right." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Ever since they had entered the ruins, the Chaos Ring had shown an unprecedented reaction. It was as if it was extremely familiar with the owner of the ruins. "Thinking back, after I had left the Chaos Ring behind, I thought that I would never have the chance to see it again. I never thought that someone would bring the Chaos Ring here. This is truly fate." Her gentle voice was filled with sorrow, as if she was recalling everything that had happened many years ago. Her voice was filled with sorrow and sadness. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang took off the Chaos Ring and presented it with both hands. "Senior, this is your Chaos Ring. I'm returning it to you." Even though the Chaos Ring had given her a lot of help and she had long gotten used to its existence, Bailey Hongzhuang still had no intention of taking it for herself in front of its true owner. Because of this ring, she came to 1,000 years in the future. She once had resentment, but after meeting Di Beichen, her resentment completely dissipated. Even though there were regrets in her heart that were difficult to fill, she was still grateful to the Chaos Ring. Because of it, he was able to obtain everything he had today. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, the master of the ruins chuckled. "Since it has recognized you as its master, it's yours. Everything in the world was fate. You were able to obtain the Chaos Ring, and now, you were able to come here. Everything was fated. What's more, I've already fallen. What's the point of finding it? I only hope that you can treat them well." Chapter 51-26. "But why is Bai Long with you?" In the next moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing the woman in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly showed a trace of surprise. The woman was wearing an elegant white dress and her hair was as smooth as silk. Her soft facial features were indescribably exquisite and her entire body exuded a holy light unique to the power of light. At a glance, she looked like a goddess but also like an immortal. Bailey Hongzhuang had never seen such a gentlewoman. Even if it was just a glance, the other party's temperament was deeply imprinted in her heart. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang keenly captured the slight fluctuation in the woman's voice when she mentioned Bai Long Sr., "This junior is He Shenjuan's disciple." Di Beichen cupped his fists and said, Bai Long was rescued by my wife from my master's ruins. As Di Beichen's voice fell, Bai Yunjiao's face suddenly froze. She looked at Di Beichen in disbelief, her clear eyes rippling. You said you are He Shenjuan's disciple? That's me. Di Beichen nodded and said respectfully, Greetings, master's wife. Bai Yunjiao couldn't help but cover her mouth. Her eyes gradually filled with tears. You are He Shenjuan's disciple, how is he now? Master has already passed away. His greatest regret was that he couldn't be with Master's wife. Bai Yunjiao's eyes suddenly turned red and tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly. Obviously, this result was a big blow to her. It's all my fault. Her light voice was like a spring, pleasant to the ear but full of sadness. Master's wife, Master said that meeting you was his greatest fortune in life. Even if the result didn't go as he wished, he never regretted it. His greatest regret was that he didn't have the ability to change all this and made you suffer. Di Beichen stared at Bai Yunjiao. This was the message that his master had asked him to convey. Back then, he didn't understand why his master thought that he would be able to meet his master's wife one day. It wasn't until he understood the relationship between Xiao He, Xiao Bai and his master's wife that he finally understood. As it turned out, everything had long been predestined. Even though Bai Yunjiao had been trying to calm herself down, she could no longer control herself after hearing those words. She almost burst into tears in an instant. Tears rolled down her cheeks like pearls, but there was still a trace of indescribable joy on her face. Because He Shenjuan's words gave her the greatest comfort. Even if they had already fallen, even if it was impossible for them to be together again, at least they had never regretted it. At least He Shenjuan's love for her was the same as her love for He Shenjun, it had never changed. Seeing Bai Yunjiao like this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes reddened. Even though she didn't know exactly what had happened back then, she could roughly guess from this situation. This kind of feeling was truly unchanging even in death. Even if they had fallen because of their union, they had never regretted it. Di Beichen remained silent. His deep eyes revealed some ripples. When he first heard his master talk about all this, he already knew how difficult it had been for the two of them to walk this path. Chapter 51:27. Even if they couldn't be together forever, even if it was only for a short period of time, it was still a kind of happiness. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. In comparison, they were happy. Although they had encountered all kinds of troubles along the way, it was not worth mentioning compared to He Shenjun. After a while, Bai Yunjiao calmed down from her emotions. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and He Shenjun with some embarrassment. I've let you see a joke. The two shook their heads. No matter who it was, they would not be able to control their emotions. They wanted to comfort Bai Yunjiao, but they felt that their words were pale and powerless. Thank you for telling me what he said. At least I can smile in peace. Bai Yunjiao looked at Di Beichen gratefully. Her gentle face became even more gentle. Master's wife, this is what I should do. Di Beichen looked serious. This is also Master's last wish. Bai Yunjiao smiled. Shenjun has good taste. In the next moment, her eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. She asked with some surprise, You two are husband and wife? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, Yes. It seems that our fate is deeper than I thought. Bai Yunjiao chuckled and said, So, you two are also of the light and darkness attributes? Do you know that such a union will face a lot of pressure? We are already mentally prepared. No matter what the outside world thinks, we will not be separated. Bailey Hongzhuang's ink-black phoenix eyes were shining with a determined light. She did not know what Bai Yunjiao and He Shenjun had experienced, but she was also determined to be together with Di Beichen. Although Di Beichen did not speak, the determination in his eyes said everything. Bai Yunjiao's eyes swept over the two. The smile on her lips gradually deepened. Looking at the two in front of her, she seemed to see herself and He Shenjun. Yes, their hearts were so determined to be together, no matter how rough the road ahead was. I also believe that you can live well. Bai Yunjiao looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "From now on, you are my disciple." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised. Did she pass just like that? Don't they need to take any tests? Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Bai Yunjiao guessed what she was thinking, and the smile on her lips became brighter. I originally wanted to test you, but there's no need for that now. I believe in Xin Jun's judgment, and I also believe in your judgment. Bai Yunjiao's gaze landed on Di Baichen and the three beasties when she said "you guys." Everyone immediately understood, and a joyful smile appeared on their faces. Master Bai, my current master is also very powerful. You definitely didn't choose the wrong person, Xiao He said with a smile. Seeing this, Bai Yunjiao softly chuckled. I didn't think that you'd all grown so big. Since you've met a master you like, I can rest assured. He Guangling should be your contracted beast now, right? Bai Yunjiao looked at Xiao Bai sitting on Di Baichen's shoulder and immediately understood. Chapter 51-28. Master, can you tell me about Xiao He and Xiao Bai's origins? After being recognized as a disciple by Bai Yunjiao, Bailey Hongzhuang naturally asked for her master's attention. Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Bai Yunjiao raised her eyebrows and a smile appeared in her eyes. Very simple names. It seems that you don't know what kind of demonic beasts the Black Light Spirit and the White Light Spirit are, right? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Indeed, after so long, other than hearing their real names from the White Dragon, she did not receive any information about their species. Not only that, according to Xiao He and Xiao Bai's memories, they were created by He Xinjun and Bai Yunjiao. Actually, these demonic beasts did not exist in this world. They were created by me and Xinjun by chance. We added the light and dark attributes to their bodies, which is why they were created. Following Bai Yunjiao's explanation, Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood the cause and effect. Originally, Bai Yunjiao was the Holy Maiden of the Light faction and had a very high status. However, she met He Xinjun by chance and the two fell in love. As the Holy Maiden of the Light faction, she naturally knew that she could not be together with He Xinjun. Because of the difference in attributes, her clan would never allow her to be together with He Xinjun. However, He Xinjun had saved the damsel in distress time and time again, so she could not help but fall in love with him. The Divine Cloud Realm was a small world created by Bai Yunjiao. At that time, she and He Xinjun lived together in this small world. During this process, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were created. These were the lives they gave birth to together. Unexpectedly, the good times did not last long. In the end, they were discovered. In the end, the two decided to break through their shackles and leave everything behind. In the process of escaping, they encountered danger and Bai Yunjiao used the Chaos Ring to avoid the danger. As a divine weapon, the Chaos Ring's defensive capabilities were naturally very strong and successfully protected them. However, although they successfully avoided the danger, they were also left behind. After that, the two of them lived together. However, in the end, Bai Yunjiao was captured and brought back. She died of depression. After hearing all this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh faintly. This situation was really too sad. The two of them had already decided to abandon everything, but in the end, there was still someone who was unwilling to let them go. It really made them feel helpless. Originally, she couldn't understand why the primal chaos ring had fallen into her hands 1,000 years ago. She had also transmigrated 1,000 years into the future, while Bai Yunjiao and He Xinjun had fallen a few hundred years ago. The timelines simply didn't match. Now, he finally understood everything. He had to admit that everything was really coincidental. Master, you're already so strong, yet you were still separated. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Although she didn't know Bai Yunjiao's true strength, she could guess that it wasn't something they could compare with. However, it was precisely these two peerless powerhouses that ended up like this. It truly made one sigh. Hearing this, Bai Yunjiao's expression became complicated. Her clear and bright eyes flashed with hesitation, but in the end, it disappeared. Chapter 51-29. The hesitation on Bai Yunjiao's face did not escape the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. The two of them immediately realized that things were not as simple as Bai Yunjiao had described them to be. There must be more to this, but Bai Yunjiao was unwilling to speak of it. Although they did not know the reason, the two of them did not ask. They believed that Bai Yunjiao must have her reasons for not speaking of it. In fact, even if Bai Yunjiao did not reveal such an expression, they could still guess that there was a problem. Otherwise, for such peerless cultivators, it would not be easy for them to be together in public. In that case, they should not have been discovered by hiding their identities. However, under such circumstances, both of them had still fallen. At least, based on their current understanding of the situation, things had not reached such a stage. Xiao So would definitely be chosen as the next saint of the Light Maiden. However, when she found out about Di Beichen's attributes, she did not immediately reject the marriage. On the contrary, if Di Beichen had not rejected the marriage, Xiao So would have chosen to accept it. When Bai Yunjiao noticed their expressions, she sighed inwardly. These two were really smart children. However, she did not want to reveal the complexity of the situation. Doing so would only increase the pressure on the two of them. Rather than endure the pressure, it would be better to be together peacefully and happily. This was the goal that she and He Shinjun had always pursued. "Give me the chaos ring." Bai Yunjiao smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang and said. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately took off the chaos ring and handed it over. After receiving the chaos ring, Bai Yunjiao casually wiped it with her hand before returning it to Bailey Hongzhuang. "You are now its true master. There should be no more restrictions on it." Following Bai Yunjiao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly felt that the connection between her and the chaos ring had become even closer. In the past, after the chaos ring had recognized her as its master, she had never noticed that there were other restrictions in the chaos ring. Now that Bai Yunjiao had removed the restriction, she discovered the changes in the chaos ring. This feeling was as if the relationship between the two had become even closer. In the past, no matter what happened in the chaos ring, she had to explore it on her own. But now, whatever she wanted to know, she could know immediately. After understanding this point, she couldn't help but be even more shocked. Just this point alone was enough to prove Bai Yunjiao's skill. This kind of method was obviously not something that the cultivators she had come into contact with could possess. However, after removing the restriction, Bai Yunjiao's eyes quietly revealed a trace of astonishment. "You've already opened the world in the chaos ring? Master, are you talking about the world of experience?" The first thing that came to Bailey Hongzhuang's mind was the forest world. This was the only world in the primordial chaos ring. World of experience? Bai Yunjiao was stunned for a moment before she nodded. That's right. I've already opened it for a while." Hearing this, Bai Yunjiao looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen and sighed. "I don't know whether this is good or bad for you, but since you've already opened it, it means that it's fated to be with you. Then what's wrong with the world?" Chapter 51-30. No problem. Bai Yunjiao's expression became calm. Not every cultivator who obtains the chaos ring can open that world. However, since you can open it, it proves that you have the ability and talent to come in contact with everything. Bai Yunjiao paused for a moment before continuing. "My true inheritance is not here. If you have the chance, you will come in contact with it. When that time comes, I will pass my true inheritance to you." In the next second, Bai Yunjiao looked at Di Beichen. "The same goes for you. Shin Jun's true inheritance is also in another place. If fate wills it, you will find it." Following Bai Yunjiao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen could not help but look at each other. This situation was beyond their expectations. They had thought that this was their master's inheritance. They did not expect that it was not the true inheritance. Even if it was not the true inheritance, they had seen the sacred attribute tablet here. If they found the true inheritance, how shocking would the rewards be? Looking at the two confused people, the corner of Bai Yunjiao's lips curled up. When the time comes, you will know. In this ruin there are 3 sacred tablets. You have seen 2 of them. The third one is the Chaos Sacred Tablet. This is the inheritance that I am giving to you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed. She did not expect her master to give these 3 sacred tablets to her. Although she had comprehended for a long time on the bridge and crossed the bridge of attributes, she knew very well that there was still a long way to go before she could comprehend the light sacred tablet. Other than that, I only have 2 attribute pools here. The water in the pools can change your affinity with the attribute. It will be very beneficial for you. Bai Yunjiao waved her hand and Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen found that 2 pools had appeared in the spacious hall. One of the pools was filled with the power of light. It was emitting white mist that constantly drifted outwards. It was like a fairyland. The other pool was filled with the power of darkness. It was dark and mysterious. The 2 completely different pools appeared at the same time. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen immediately sensed how powerful they were. You guys can go in. Bai Yunjiao smiled faintly. I'll remove the seal on White Dragon's memories first. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bai Yunjiao glanced at Bai Yunjiao and immediately walked into the pool without hesitation. As soon as she stepped in, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a rich power coming from the pool. That pure and concentrated power shocked her. Previously, when she was outside the ruins, she felt that the light energy emitted by the ruins was extremely shocking. However, compared to the power of light that he felt now, there was still a huge difference. She was certain that this pool of water was a first-rate treasure. It was a priceless treasure to every light attribute cultivator. Staying in this pool of water, Bailey Hongzhuang could feel that her cultivation was progressing rapidly, and her comprehension of the light attribute was also increasing. Ever since she transmigrated, she had seen many relics. Every time they went in, they would fight for it and face danger at any time. Only this time, everything was so peaceful. Bai Yunjiao gave her the feeling that she was an elder. Her words and advice were all for the sake of her improvement. Chapter 51-31. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were focused on cultivating in the pool, Bai Long's memories were finally unsealed. Compared to Xiao He and Xiao Bai, who had lost contact with Bai Yunjiao not long after being created, her feelings for Bai Yunjiao were undoubtedly deeper. Yunjiao, in the end, you still. Bai Long's eyes were filled with tears. Looking at Bai Yunjiao, who was only a remnant of her will, he couldn't control his emotions. Don't be sad for me. This is actually a form of relief for me. Without Xinjun, I'm just a walking corpse. I still have to face those people who annoy me. Although I've already disappeared from this world, I feel happier than being alive. Bai Yunjiao's expression was gentle as she looked at Bai Long. I was just worried that you would be the only one left. It's a good thing that Hongzhuang and Di Beichen are doing well, and you've already recognized Hongzhuang as your master. I believe that with them, you'll have a good life. All these years, I've never understood who I was and why I was in Xinjun's ruins. Now I finally understand. But when I think about how you're all gone, I feel pain. Don't think about it. You were injured so badly because of me. Although part of your memories were sealed, it was also because you were injured too badly. It's a good thing that after these years of cultivation, you've finally recovered. I thank you for everything you did for me. Actually, you were never a contract beast. You only followed me to repay my kindness. Now that you've recognized your true master, it's time for you to start a new life. As for me, I have no regret. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and immersed herself in cultivation. The demon summoning scripture was fully activated and the heaven-defying effects of this technique were immediately displayed. The rich energy in the pool was constantly being absorbed into her body, increasing her strength. Di Baichen's movements weren't any smaller than Bailey Hongzhuang's. The power of the destiny physique was completely displayed. The dark energy entered his body through his pores and quickly circulated. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were peacefully cultivating, Di Xiaofeng and the others were also concentrating on comprehending the primal chaos sacred tablet. In the beginning, they were worried that the tablet would disappear at any time, so they kept staring at it, not daring to move their eyes away. But when they found that the tablet was floating in the air and didn't show any signs of disappearing, they relaxed. In fact, the tablet itself was a treasure. Even if they kept staring at it, they wouldn't be able to keep staring at it. Moreover, the powerful rules contained within could backfire on one's body, so everyone would take a break after watching for a while. During this process, everyone's comprehension ability was constantly improving. Even if their cultivation, they didn't know that it wasn't just a bit, they knew that their comprehension wasn't just a bit stronger than before. This comprehension and understanding of the laws would show results as they cultivated in the future, and it would be easier for them to break through in the future. This benefit was even more amazing than simply increasing one's cultivation base. We've been outside for a long time, haven't we? On this day, Ao Lingxiao exited his state of comprehension. Time always passed very quickly while he was meditating. Before he knew it, time had already passed. Chapter 51-32. Listening to Jun Lingxuan's words, Lin Yi nodded. We seem to have stayed here for a long time. I'm afraid it won't be long before we leave the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. But Baichen and Hongzhuang haven't come out yet. I don't know how long they will stay in the ruins. Mo Yunjue frowned. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yi entered the ruins, he had already guessed that they wouldn't be able to come out for a while. However, several months had passed in the blink of an eye. They could only stay in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm for a total of 1 year. Once they missed it, the next time they could leave would be 10 years later. Yeah, they have been in there for so long. What if they don't come out in the stipulated time? A trace of worry appeared on Lin Taxing's face. Obviously, they couldn't stay here for 10 years. Most importantly, according to the news, there had never been a cultivator who could stay here for 10 years and leave alive. They should be out soon. Di Xiaofeng pondered and said, Baichen and Lin Yi should know what to do. If possible, I hope to stay here and comprehend the Primal Chaos Tablet. Murong Jing sighed. Even if they studied the Primal Chaos Tablet every day, they had only scratched the surface. It was just a superficial knowledge, but it was already very useful to him. If he had the chance to comprehend the Primal Chaos Tablet, he believed that his strength would be much stronger than before. As Murong Jing's voice fell, everyone felt the same way. If possible, they also hoped to have such an opportunity. However, the Primal Chaos Tablet didn't belong to them. They couldn't stay here forever. Let's wait patiently for the time being. Chen Feng's expression was calm. His deep eyes were filled with determination and certainty. Even if he hadn't known Di Baichen for a long time, he knew that Di Baichen was a strategist. He would definitely remember the time when they left. After cultivating for several months, Bailey Hongzhuang found that the light power in the pool had decreased a lot. During this period of cultivation, her cultivation had also successfully broken through to the nebula realm. However, only she knew in her heart that what had increased the most was not her cultivation, but her strength. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had exited her cultivation state, Bai Yunjiao's remnant consciousness appeared once again. However, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed at a glance that Bai Yunjiao's lingering thoughts were much lighter than when they first met. Obviously, it would not be long before it completely dissipated. Master. Bailey Hongzhuang called out softly, her eyes red. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Bai Yunjiao smiled faintly. Silly girl, I'm already a dead person. What's there to be sad about when a remnant of my will is about to disappear? Master, thank you. Bailey Hongzhuang knelt down and bowed deeply to Bai Yunjiao. There were too many unclear connections between her and Bai Yunjiao. If it wasn't for Bai Yunjiao, she wouldn't be where she was now. Perhaps it was because of these inextricable connections, or perhaps it was because Bai Yunjiao's situation was too similar to hers, or perhaps it was because even she herself couldn't understand the reason, but she had an unprecedented deep feeling for Bai Yunjiao. This feeling was akin to seeing one's loved one pass away. It was something she couldn't accept. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang in such a state, Bai Yunjiao's heart softened as her eyes reddened. Chapter 51-33. When Di Beichen exited his cultivation state, he saw this scene and closed his eyes again. At this time, it was better to let Bailey Hongzhuang and Bai Yunjiao have a good talk. Master, I have something I want to ask. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment. What is it? Master, do you know what is the use of the rainbow elemental energy? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes. She was quite curious about the rainbow elemental energy that was unique to the Lan family. According to her father, it was a unique inheritance of the Lan family. However, it had not appeared for many years, until it appeared in her body. However, until now, other than the fact that the rainbow elemental energy was more condensed than normal elemental energy and could last longer under the same consumption, she did not find any other differences. She had asked other people but did not seem to have a definite answer. Thinking about it, Bai Yunjiao must be more knowledgeable than them and might know something. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Bai Yunjiao was a little surprised. Why are you asking about the rainbow elemental energy? Because I am one myself. Bai Yunjiao was slightly stunned. Then, her eyes were full of astonishment. You actually have the rainbow elemental energy? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and could not help but ask, Master, is there a problem with the rainbow elemental energy? No. Bai Yunjiao shook her head and her face became serious. Actually, I don't know much about the rainbow elemental energy. I have only heard some news about it. The rainbow elemental energy is a special and powerful force. It is said to be an ancient inheritance and 1 in 10,000. Based on what I know, I am afraid that 1 in a million people has it. In the past, among the cultivators I know, there was one who had the rainbow elemental energy. His ability completely overpowered cultivators of the same level. He was an extremely powerful existence. Unfortunately, I do not know much about it. However, based on my judgment, your rainbow elemental energy should still be in the beginning stages and has not truly awakened. Awakened? Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. She had never heard of this before. That's right. Only after awakening will it be the true rainbow elemental energy. However, as for how to awaken it, you will have to find the answer yourself. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang fell silent. According to his father, this was their family's inheritance. However, it was just as Bai Yunjiao had said. Every cultivator in the family who possessed the rainbow primary force would achieve much more than ordinary cultivators. At the same time, Di Beichen slowly walked over. He stopped beside Bailey Hongzhuang and listened to Bai Yunjiao's message. Bai Yunjiao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a gentle gaze. I can see that both of you are very lucky. I believe that you will have the opportunity to understand it in the future. Luck was an extremely mysterious thing. Every cultivator would have their own luck. Usually, experts would have great luck. For this kind of mysterious thing, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't see through it. However, Bai Yunjiao was very certain. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were able to reach this stage at such a young age. Furthermore, they had received their inheritance. Their luck was already far beyond ordinary people. In addition to Bailey Hongzhuang's rainbow elemental energy and Di Beichen's destiny body, they would definitely go far in the future. I will wait for you at my true inheritance. Chapter 51-34. Hearing Bai Yunjiao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but feel puzzled. Previously, she thought that her master actually thought that it was better for her not to enter that level. Why did she suddenly change her mind? Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, but Di Beichen also noticed the change in Bai Yunjiao's attitude. Previously, Bai Yunjiao only said that if they had the chance to find the inheritance, then they would talk about it. Now, Bai Yunjiao clearly believed that they had the ability to find it. This was a huge change. In this regard, Bai Yunjiao did not explain and only smiled faintly. In the next second, two shining stones, one black and one white, appeared in Bai Yunjiao's hand. I'll leave this to you. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the white stone in her hand and asked doubtfully, Master, this is? This is the key to my true inheritance, just like the key to this inheritance. When you're close to it, you'll sense it and it will help you find the inheritance. As soon as this was said, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's eyes lit up. If this world was so big, it would not be easy for them to find it. However, with this key, it would at least be much easier to find it than before. Thank you, Master. Outside the ruins, if Di Xiaofeng and the others were not too worried before, they could not help but feel anxious as the one-year deadline approached. What should we do? If we don't come out now, we won't be able to get out. Lin Qianqian anxiously paced back and forth, her hands tightly clasped together. At this time, she could not even calm down to comprehend the Chaos Sacred Tablet. After all, once they missed it, it would be 10 years. Although the lifespan of a cultivator was relatively long, many things would have changed after 10 years. Time is indeed getting tight. Judging from the distance we have to travel, it will take some time. Di Xiaofeng's face darkened. In his impression, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were people who knew their limit. They should not miss this period of time. Do you think anything will happen to them inside? Lin Taxing's expression was complicated. As time passed, all kinds of thoughts emerged in his mind. I don't think so. Murong Jing pondered. From what I can see, the owner of this ruin is very calm, and there was no danger in the previous selection. Not only that, they even gave us the chance to comprehend the primal chaos sacred tablet. Have you ever seen such a situation in the past? Everyone looked at each other. Such a peaceful selection was indeed something they had never encountered before. If it was in the past, which ruin didn't have casualties, that was how the strong were trained. Only this time, it gave them a completely new impression. That's why I don't think they'll encounter any danger inside, Murong Jing said slowly. Bai Yunjiao left. The wisp of remnant consciousness left in the ruins completely dissipated. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Bai Long's eyes reddened. They were extremely reluctant to part with Bai Yunjiao. Di Beichen reached out and hugged Bailey Hongzhuang. His voice was gentle and comforting. Wife, don't be sad. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, but the trace of sadness in her heart could not be erased. In the short time they spent together, she only felt that Bai Yunjiao was the real saint of light. She was gentle and magnanimous, and not ordinary people could compare to her. Chapter 51-35. After putting the 3 primal chaos tablets into the chaos ring, Bai Long returned to the chaos ring. Although Bai Long's appearance was no longer affected by the restriction, they were about to leave. Bai Long's sudden appearance would undoubtedly shock everyone, so it was better to return to the Chaos Ring. Bai Long was undoubtedly the saddest about Bai Yunjiao's departure. Previously, they didn't understand why Bai Long's memory was damaged and his strength regressed. Now they finally understood. It turned out that when he was protecting Bai Yunjiao and He Shenjun, he was severely injured. In the end, Bai Yunjiao was still captured and Bai Long followed He Shenjun. At that time, He Shenjun was already severely injured. Therefore, he only left Bai Long in the ruins and later died. At first, Bai Yunjiao saved Bai Long by chance, so Bai Long followed her. The two of them didn't form a contract, but Bai Long was dead set on protecting Bai Yunjiao. However, the power they fought against was too strong. In the end, they couldn't change anything. As Bai Long's memory recovered, he now knew that Bai Yunjiao and He Shenjun had died. One could imagine the pain in his heart. Ling don't be sad. We still have to move forward. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted Bai Long. She understood how painful it was for the people you cared about the most to leave and never appear again. Even if her comfort was futile, she still hoped that Bai Long would be able to accept it. Ling Er nodded slightly. Don't worry, I will accept it. When Di Xiaofeng and the others saw that the primal chaos tablets suddenly disappeared, a trace of surprise appeared in their eyes. More than that, there was a trace of anticipation. The primal chaos tablets disappeared. Does this mean that Bai Chen and the others are coming out? Ao Lingxiao's eyes lit up. His eyes were filled with anticipation. Di Xiaofeng and the others didn't speak. Their eyes were fixed on the door of the ruins, hoping that it would open. In the next moment, under everyone's fervent gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen's figures finally appeared in everyone's sight. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Baichen, you're finally out. If you didn't come out, we really didn't know what to do. Di Xiaofeng's face was filled with a joyful smile, and his entire body relaxed. Sorry for making everyone wait. Di Baichen looked at everyone apologetically. When he noticed that the cultivators of the Great Devil Sect were also here, a trace of surprise quietly flashed through his deep eyes. It's fine as long as you made it out safely. Lin Taxing smiled faintly. It's getting late. Let's hurry to the exit. As for the rest, let's talk on the way. What do you think? Di Baichen nodded. Okay. Immediately afterward, the group of people rushed towards the exit marked on the identity card. If they didn't speed up, they wouldn't be able to get out. On the way, Bailey Hongzhuang also learned that the cultivators of the Great Devil Sect had decided to stay because they were worried about the safety of Di Xiaofeng and the others. Suddenly, their hearts were touched, and they felt that Chen Feng, this friend of theirs, was really right. The fact that he could take the initiative to think of this at such a time was enough to prove that he was a righteous person. Brother Chen, I will remember this friendship, said Di Baichen with a smile. Chapter 5136. Chen Feng waved his hand in a carefree manner, but his gaze was incomparably sincere. He was originally an extremely pure person. Since the other party treated him with sincerity, he would naturally treat the other party with sincerity as well. Moreover, he did not have many friends, and Di Baichen was one of them. Haha, in my opinion, you guys don't need to thank each other. Isn't this how brothers should be? Murong Jinglang said with a smile. Hearing this, Di Baichen and Chen Feng looked at each other and smiled. No words were needed to express their understanding. On the flying magic tool, a group of cultivators gathered together. At this moment, they were standing on the deck and looking in the direction of the exit. During this process, there were cultivators coming out from the exit and landing on the deck continuously. However, as time passed, the exit started to close gradually. Everyone could not help but look around. The number of cultivators entering and exiting each time was not small. The teams from the Di family, Lin family, Murong family, and the Great Devil Sect have yet to appear. The exit is about to close. Could it be that they can't make it in time? I remember that they have been guarding outside the ruins. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen have yet to leave the ruins? I remember that the cultivators from the Bailey family seem to be with them as well. If they really can't make it out, that would be interesting. Everyone looked at each other. In their eyes, as long as they missed the opportunity to come out, they could basically treat the other party as if they did not exist. The strength of these four forces was not weak. If all the cultivators were annihilated in the Immortal Cloud's secret domain, it would be shocking news. Jun Lingxuan looked at the exit that was getting smaller and smaller, and a trace of joy immediately appeared on his handsome face. This time, when he faced Di Baichen and the others, he was completely defeated. Therefore, he did not think that he could deal with them. However, if Di Baichen and the others were trapped in the Immortal Cloud's secret domain and could not come out, then the heavens were really helping him. 10 years later, even if Di Baichen and the others were still alive, the outside world would have undergone tremendous changes. The Di family is really interesting. It would be interesting if they don't come out. Nangong Yuqing smirked. He was happy to see such a situation. However, when Chu Yingming heard this news, his brows furrowed. Just when everyone thought that it was impossible for the D family to come out, a group of figures suddenly flew out from the entrance that was about to close. Ta-ta-ta. One figure after another landed on the deck. Who else could it be other than Di Beichen and the others? The smile on Jun Lingxuan's lips suddenly froze. He looked at Di Beichen and the others, who had appeared at the last moment, in astonishment. His gaze couldn't help but become gloomy. What a lucky bastard! Just a little bit more and the exit would be completely closed. The team leader who came to welcome the disciples back heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this scene. Although every time the Immortal Cloud's secret realm was opened, there would always be a situation where the entire team would be wiped out. Although the Immortal Cloud's secret domain was destroyed in the Immortal Cloud's secret domain, the D family, the Lin family, the Murong family, and the Great Devil sect were not ordinary forces. It would be a pity if all of them were left inside. After seeing this scene, all the cultivators present could not help but sigh. These guys were really lucky. I think that every time these guys appear, they have to create quite a big commotion. Otherwise, they won't stop. Chapter 51-37. After Di Beichen and the others landed on the deck, the exit closed. Di Xiaofeng and the others couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. We finally made it. If we were any later, we wouldn't have been able to come out. That means our timing was just right, haha. Murong Jing laughed. In fact, everyone was worried that they wouldn't be able to make it in time. Fortunately, the situation was much better than they thought. Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Soa looked at each other with complicated expressions. This wasn't something they wanted to see. We really got lucky. Nangong Yuqing rolled his eyes. Just a little bit more and he would have been able to get rid of this big problem without any effort. On the other hand, Chu Yingming's eyes lit up when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others appear. This is called the heavens are on our side, Murong Jing said indifferently as his gaze fell on Nangong Yuqing. Nangong Yuqing's voice wasn't soft, so they naturally heard it clearly. So what if we came out? Nangong Yuqing shrugged. We wasted half a year in the Immortal Cloud secret realm without any harvest. It won't be easy to catch up with others. I see that you didn't waste half a year and your strength didn't increase at all. Di Xiaofeng looked at Nangong Yuqing indifferently. He didn't care about the other party's ridicule at all. Although I didn't break through, I'm still stronger than before. Nangong Yuqing's lips curled up. There was a hint of pride between his brows. It's just training, so there will always be some harvest. If you only meditate and cultivate, you might as well stay in the family and cultivate. Why come out and waste your time? Fighting wasn't allowed on the flying magic artifact, so when Jun Lingxuan saw Nangong Yuqing start to talk, he couldn't bear to be left out. If they could fight here, he wouldn't be a match for the D family. Naturally, he didn't dare to speak. Di Beichen, just because the two of you wanted to obtain an opportunity, you caused so many people to wait outside and waste half a year's time. Don't you feel ashamed? Jun Lingxuan looked at Di Beichen in ridicule. According to his thinking, even if Chen Feng had no objections, the other cultivators of the Great Devil sect should have already been dissatisfied. Di Beichen and Yi Shiwen had indeed saved everyone, but after half a year, it would be difficult for them to catch up with the cultivators who were at the same level as them. However, in the face of Jun Lingxuan and Nangong Yuqing's ridicule, the cultivators from the five forces remained calm. I'm not embarrassed, Di Beichen said with an indifferent expression. What's there to be embarrassed about? Looking at Di Beichen's unashamed and proud appearance, the other cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Although they knew that this matter had nothing to do with Di Beichen and Yi Shiwen, if it was anyone else who obtained this opportunity, they wouldn't have wasted it. Presumably, even they had only found out that the Great Devil sect and Murong family were waiting for them outside. However, no matter what, they should be somewhat apologetic. Bachen's attitude was indeed somewhat excessive. Speaking of which, it's strange. The cultivators of the Great Devil sect and Murong family don't seem to be dissatisfied. Instead, they seem to be very happy. Chapter 5138. How is that possible? I've never heard of anyone being able to get benefits from staying outside the relic. That's true. Everyone looked at each other, unable to understand. As the flying instrument began to fly, everyone walked in. In this 1 year of experience, everyone had experienced many thrilling things. Now that they had finally returned to a safe place, they just wanted to rest here. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were the same. At this moment, they just wanted to relax. Everyone did not stop and directly headed to the restaurant inside the flying instrument. In the past year, they hadn't eaten any good food, so naturally, everyone was craving for food. They were not the only ones. In fact, other than a small number of cultivators who were injured or too tired, most of the other cultivators were gathered here. If you ask me, the ones who gained the most this time should be Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang. Of course. Just by looking at the relic, you can tell that the owner of the relic is not ordinary. They must have gained a lot. The Verdant Flame Palace also gained a lot. Later on, they also found an inheritance. It's said that it's quite big. Everyone drank as they talked about their gains from this trip. The cultivators who had gained a lot had no intention of hiding it. Letting others know about their improvement and being envied was undoubtedly a great feeling. Speaking of which, everyone gained a lot in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm this time. However, there was one person who was the most unlucky. As soon as this was said, everyone looked at each other and immediately understood. I heard that out of all the cultivators who entered the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm this time, only Chu Yingming did not advance. Shu, lower your voice. The man lowered his voice. Isn't it because of the injury from before? It's said that it hurt his foundation. If it can't be healed, his future will stop here. Hey, what are you talking about? Even though his voice was extremely low, it still did not escape the ears of the Chu clan cultivators. One of the Chu clan disciples immediately stood up and looked at him with dissatisfaction. Seeing this, the man curled his lips and did not continue speaking. It was fine to talk about something fun, but if he offended the Chu clan too much, there would be no benefits. Chu Yingming's face was gloomy the entire time. After staying for a moment, he left. Normally, he was an existence that no one could ignore. But now, because his foundation was damaged, everyone was looking at him with sympathy. It was easy to imagine how depressed he was. Seeing Chu Yingming leave, Baichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile that wasn't a smile. Wife, your foundation is damaged? There was a hint of playfulness and mockery in his tone. Naturally, he didn't believe such a statement. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled mischievously and rolled her round eyes. I think this title is pretty good, don't you think? It is indeed a good title. Chu Yingming must be in complete despair right now. Baichen chuckled. He naturally knew what his wife was capable of. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had only treated Chu Yingming for a short period of time, she had been rejected in the blink of an eye. However, he knew very well that with Bailey Hongzhuang's ability, as long as she had the chance to touch him, she would have thousands of ways to poison him. Chapter 5139. Master, what did you do to make everyone think that Chu Yingming's foundation was damaged? Xiao Hei's eyes were filled with excitement and curiosity. She had always been curious about what her master had done to Chu Yingming. However, after entering the historical remnant, she had forgotten about this matter. Now that she heard everyone's reminder, she was even more curious. I did a little trick. In fact, I only used poison to prevent his cultivation from increasing. Thinking about it, it just so happened that he was seriously injured before, so everyone thought that his foundation was damaged. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly smiled. When she heard this news, she was also a bit surprised, but she quickly understood the whole story. She was happy to see such an outcome. "Master, your methods are getting better and better." Xiao Hei's eyes were like stars as she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with admiration. "Then when Chu Yingming goes back, will he find out?" Xiao Bai couldn't help but ask. "That's not clear," Bailey Hongzhuang thought. "That will depend on whether or not the doctor he finds is good enough. What if it's Dr. Wu? I'm afraid it'll be a bit difficult." Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai looked at each other and immediately understood. Although they didn't know much about medicine, from the Di family's attitude towards Dr. Wu, they could see that Dr. Wu's medical skills were definitely top-notch. If even Dr. Wu had a hard time, then it would be difficult for Chu Yingming to find a way. Suddenly, they couldn't help but sympathize with Chu Yingming. What an unlucky person. "Beichen, Hongzhuang, what are you whispering about?" Di Xiaofeng saw Di Beichen and Xiao Hei whispering and not drinking, so he couldn't help but ask. "Nothing." Di Beichen smiled and raised his wine cup. "Come." "Haha, that's more like it." After 3 rounds of wine, Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but say, "In my opinion, Chu Yingming's foundation has been damaged. He must be filled with hatred for Nangong Yuqing and Jun Lingxuan. If it weren't for the fact that they didn't allow Hongzhuang to treat them, they wouldn't have ended up in this situation, right? Isn't that good? After all, this matter has nothing to do with us. If it affects their relationship, we'll be happy to watch the show." Lin Taxing smiled. He liked to watch such a good show. Chu Yingming is actually quite unlucky. He had to join forces with Jun Lingxuan for no reason, which is why he ended up in his current situation. Lin Qianqian pursed her lips. If he hadn't teamed up with Jun Lingxuan to set us up, wouldn't everything have been fine? There's no medicine for regret in this world. You deserve it. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the house, it was already late. Many people were dead drunk. After being tense for a year, they were finally able to relax. Everyone was a little unbridled. After returning to the house, Bailey Hongzhuang also had a good sleep. Although there was no danger in the ruins, they had been working hard to cultivate. After that, they had been on the road, so they were travel-worn. Now that they were finally on their way back, they naturally had to rest to be in a better state. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were resting, many cultivators were shocked by a piece of news. "What did you say? You saw the Chaos Sacred Tablet outside the ruins?" Chapter 5140. However, after a brief moment of shock, the crowd began to roll their eyes. "Are you joking? This treasure has disappeared for many years. It's impossible for it to appear again." "That's right, I've heard that this treasure has disappeared from the world a long time ago. The last time it appeared was hundreds of years ago. How could you possibly have come across it? Even if you want to boast, you should come up with something more reliable. Could it be that you're worried that we'll laugh at you for not having gained anything, so you've come up with such a lie? You've been outside the ruins, not inside it. Even if it had appeared, only Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen would have the chance to comprehend it. How could this be?" "I'm telling the truth. It's up to you whether to believe me or not." The person who had spoken was a cultivator from the Murong family. "After we'd stayed outside the palace for a while, the Chaos Sacred Tablet had appeared. Otherwise, why do you think that we've wasted half a year outside without anyone showing any dissatisfaction? Our gains are much greater than yours." The Murong family cultivator's face was filled with complacency. Previously, they had not even bothered to argue with these people. They were well aware of the benefits. What does it have to do with them how others see it? Hearing this, the crowd looked at each other in disbelief. If all of this was true, it would be too shocking. However, it was just as this cultivator had said. After half a year, anyone would have been dissatisfied. However, none of the cultivators from the other organizations had shown any signs of dissatisfaction. This was what they found the strangest. "I just happen to know a disciple from the Great Devil Sect, and we have a pretty good relationship. I'll ask him later. You'd better be careful. If you're lying, you'll be exposed immediately. Go ahead and ask him. The Murong family disciple waved his hand, as if he was not afraid at all. Seeing this, the man who had spoken looked deeply at him before walking towards the great Devilsek's encampment. This was such a shocking piece of news, and he had to get to the bottom of it. When the crowd saw this, they were not in a hurry to leave. Instead, they waited for the cultivator to return. Not long after, the cultivator returned. However, he had a complicated look on his face. How was it? Now you know that I'm telling the truth, right? The cultivator from the Murong family looked at the man proudly and said. For a moment, everyone's eyes turned to the man, wanting to know what the man's answer was. In the next second, under everyone's curious gazes, the man nodded. I've already confirmed it. This news is true. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire hall fell silent for a moment. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. This result was really a little too shocking. The Primal Chaos Saint tablet actually appeared? This is a great opportunity. What kind of dogs hit luck do they have? You can even see such a treasure while staying outside the ruins? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have left back then. After that, I spent half a year in the immortal cloud mystic realm and searched for a long time, but I didn't find any opportunities. Instead, I encountered many dangers. An indescribable feeling of depression surfaced in everyone's hearts. This feeling was as if they had experienced all the calamities before, and when it was time to enjoy the fruits of their labor, they had left. Was this something a human could do? That kind of comprehension opportunity was something they dreamed of even in their dreams. Chapter 51-41. Actually, it makes sense if you think about it this way. Back then, 2 attribute bridges had appeared. In the end, only Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen managed to pass through. However, cultivators of the same attribute were given the opportunity to comprehend it. Based on this, we can see that the owner of the ruins is a kind person. Furthermore, she is of the light attribute. It's normal for her to make a decision that would benefit everyone. What a pity. We've gone through so many dangers for nothing. We've actually missed such a great opportunity. Heavens, quick, tell me what's so great about the Chaos Sacred Tablet. All the cultivators in the Great Hall stared curiously at the cultivators from the Murong family. They had only heard of the Chaos Sacred Tablet before. Now, they would be happy to have a better understanding of it. Seeing the eager looks on the crowd's faces, the cultivators from the Murong family were not stingy. They immediately described the situation with the Chaos Sacred Tablet, causing the crowd to gasp in amazement. The next day, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others appeared before the crowd once again, they realized that many cultivators were looking at them with envy. The Di family is really lucky. Not only did Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang receive the inheritance from the ruins, the other cultivators also had the opportunity to comprehend the Chaos Sacred Tablet. They're really the biggest winners of this trial. I've heard that after comprehending the Chaos Sacred Tablet, the cultivators from the 5 organizations had practically all advanced a level in their powers. How enviable! That's very normal. After all, it's a precious treasure of the heavens and the earth. The rate of improvement is much faster than ordinary cultivation resources. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but look at each other when they heard the crowd's discussion. They had not spread the news at all. How did so many people find out about it in the blink of an eye? Just as they were feeling puzzled, Murong Jing's apologetic voice rang out. One of my family's disciples drank too much yesterday and got carried away in a moment of complacency. I'm really sorry. Murong Jing felt a little helpless. When he saw the situation this morning, he was also rather astonished. After asking carefully, he realized that the source of the news was one of his own family's cultivators. He immediately pulled out that disciple. The man followed closely behind Murong Jing. His face also had an apologetic yet nervous look. I drank too much yesterday. I'm really sorry. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and looked at each other, then laughed. Murong, it's not a big deal. Don't take it to heart. Di Xiaofeng's smile. I didn't say it yesterday because I was too lazy to be in the limelight. It's fine to say it now because it's the truth. The cultivator, who was originally very nervous, heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this. He was really worried that the young master would punish him. Really? Murong Jing frowned slightly. He always felt that this matter was related to the inheritance of Di Beichen. After all, it was not good to talk about it. Xiao, xiao xiao yi, xiao xiao, xiao 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 xiao. Looking at Di Beichen's smiling appearance, Murong Jing's heart was finally at ease. Hearing you say that, I'm relieved. In the next moment, he looked at the instigator of the incident. Every time you drink too much, you start spouting nonsense. You're not allowed to drink anymore. Yes, yes, yes. The man nodded, not daring to refute. Chapter 51-42. Compared to the joyous atmosphere of Di Beichen and the others, Jun Lingxuan, Xiao Sou, and Nangong Yuqing were in disbelief after hearing the news. What a joke! The day before, they were still rejoicing in other people's misfortune. With the exception of Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, all the other cultivators had wasted half a year's time trying to arouse dissatisfaction with Di Beichen and Nangong Yuqing. However, they had never expected that the other party would obtain such a great opportunity. Thinking of this, they couldn't help but recall Di Beichen's calm appearance yesterday and immediately understood. The reason why the other party hadn't said anything was because he wanted to see their foolish expressions. They were being toyed with like monkeys. Thinking of the situation yesterday, they only felt a burst of pain in their cheek. This was really too shameful. Xiao Sou gloomily looked at the smiling Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her. The light sacred tablet, the primal chaos sacred tablet, no matter which one it was, it proved that the owner of the ruins was definitely an expert of the light attribute. Originally, she thought that she would be able to obtain the inheritance, but she never thought that the one to obtain the inheritance would be Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't know how much the light attribute of Bailey Hongzhuang had improved after obtaining the inheritance, but she could roughly guess. She was really worried. If Bailey Hongzhuang were to compete with her for the position of the Light Saint, what would she do? Jun Lingxuan looked at the dazed Xiao Sou beside him and couldn't help but wave his hand in front of her eyes. So, what are you thinking about? After calling her several times, Xiao Sou came back to her senses and shook her head with a blank expression. Nothing. We are not their opponents here, but you don't need to worry. After we go back, we will think of a way. Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and said. Hearing this, Xiao Sou couldn't help but raise her head and look at Jun Lingxuan's serious eyes. Don't worry, I won't let anyone steal your position as the Light Saint. Xiao Sou's eyes blossomed with hope and she immediately nodded. Fortunately, she had Jun Lingxuan's support. The primal chaos sacred tablet, these people are really lucky. Nangong Yuqing secretly spat. Although his face was filled with disdain, the jealousy in the depths of his eyes could not be concealed. Who wouldn't be envious of such a good opportunity? After eating breakfast, Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her room. If they wanted to go back, they would have to stay on this flying magic tool for a while. She planned to refine 2 batches of pills to try. Since everyone was planning to go into closed-door cultivation, if she could successfully refine the immortal spirit grass into a pill, it would undoubtedly be of great help to everyone. Moreover, this kinda treasure was a treasure to be used later. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was preparing to go into seclusion to refine pills, there was a sudden knock on the door. Opening of the door, USSS, use you. Chu Yingming. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned and a trace of coldness appeared on her peerless face. What are you doing here? Hearing the commotion outside Bailey Hongzhuang's door, Di Beichen and the others all walked over. Seeing Chu Yingming suddenly appear, none of them had a good expression. Chu Yingming had obviously already expected that Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't be happy with him, but he had already made preparations. Bailey Hongzhuang, I know your medical skills are very high. I came here today to ask for your help. Chapter 51-43. Chu Yingming was not in the mood to care about other people's gazes now. The only thing he cared about was his body. This was related to his future. He was a selfish person who only valued benefit. Naturally, he knew that once he had no future, then his life was completely over. The reason why he obtained abundant cultivation resources in the family and had his current status was that he had unlimited potential. If he had no potential, it meant that his cultivation would stop there. It would not be long before his status would be replaced by other cultivators in the family. Over the years, he had desperately maintained everything. He absolutely could not accept it being taken away by others. I beg you to treat me. You can ask for any reward you need. I will never treat you badly. Chu Yingming's eyes were serious and sincere. Nothing was more important than his future. No matter what price he had to pay, he didn't care. Such a big movement immediately attracted a group of cultivators to come and watch. After all, whether it was the Chu family or the Di family, they were two behemoths. Everyone knew about Chu Yingming's situation these days, and Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills were also obvious to everyone. Therefore, although the situation in front of them made everyone a little surprised, it was not surprising when they thought about it carefully. If it were them, they would not give up this hope. Chu Yingming actually came to ask second cousin-in-law for help. This is too surprising. Lin Yi's eyes were full of surprise. Chu Yingming is a flexible person, but I don't think Hongzhuang will agree. Lin Taxing raised his eyebrows slightly. According to his understanding, Bailey Hongzhuang was also a person with a temper. She promised to treat Chu Yingming before because of the situation. Now the situation was different. Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely not agree. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Chu Yingming faintly, but her tone was extremely indifferent. No treatment. As soon as these words came out, Chu Yingming's face suddenly stiffened. I am willing to give you all my gains in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Then I won't treat him. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was cold, and her indifferent voice had a trace of coldness, without any warmth. Bailey Hongzhuang, Chu Yingming has already spoken like this, yet you still don't agree. Aren't you going too far? Jun Lingxuan leaned against the door with a provocative and playful look in his eyes. He seemed to be enjoying the show. That's right. Chu Yingming has already lowered himself like this. As a doctor, you should have a benevolent heart. Xiao Shou couldn't help but say. Lin Qianqian stood up. She was speechless. Why are you guys everywhere? Merciful heart. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly laughed out loud. If I remember correctly, it was you who stopped me from treating him, right? Back then, you were the ones who stopped me. Now, you're the ones who want me to treat you. What kind of nonsense is this? Is there such a good thing in this world? Besides, if you want to talk about being merciful, you shouldn't be merciful to someone who wants to kill you, right? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her phoenix eyes and shot a sharp and intimidating look at Xiao Shou. As the next holy maiden of the light, I haven't seen your merciful side yet. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Shou's face suddenly turned ugly. Chapter 51-44. Jun Lingxuan, shut up! Chu Yingming coldly shouted, looking at the two with a trace of viciousness. Among all of them, the one he hated the most was Jun Lingxuan. If it wasn't for Jun Lingxuan, he wouldn't have offended Di Beichen and the others, and he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. The most hateful thing was that at this time, Jun Lingxuan still made sarcastic remarks. The anger in his heart could be imagined. Hearing Chu Yingming's words filled with disgust, Jun Lingxuan's face became even more unsightly. Bailey Hongzhuang originally wanted to treat Chu Yingming, but wasn't it because they said that Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be trusted, so Chu Yingming wasn't treated? Isn't that right? If Chu Yingming's foundation is really damaged and can't recover, then it's their responsibility. If I were them, I would have already hidden far away, yet they still dare to come here and make sarcastic remarks. Aren't they just looking for a scolding? the expressions of the Xiao family's cultivators suddenly became ugly. They only felt that they had lost face. They originally came to watch the show. They didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, the spearhead would be directed at them. Big sister, I think we should go back first. Xiao Sudong couldn't help but pull Xiao Sou's clothes. He felt that if they continued to stay, they would be targeted by the Chu family's cultivators. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan looked at each other. The two of them didn't say anything, and directly retreated. Seeing this, the Di family and Lin family's cultivators couldn't help but sigh and laugh. Bailey Hongzhuang, I beg you. As long as you are willing to help me, regardless of whether it can be cured or not, I will always remember this kindness in my heart. Chu Yingming stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, although he didn't understand medical skills. From the situation of Bailey Hongzhuang treating other cultivators, her medical skills were extraordinary. Therefore, he had to grasp every last bit of hope. Facing Chu Yingming's hopeful eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was still cold. I have a principle that I won't treat anyone who doesn't trust me. I didn't want to treat you before, but I was forced by the situation. Naturally, there's no need to mention it now. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the house. Take care, I won't see you out. Pa-ta! The door was mercilessly closed, leaving Chu Yingming standing outside with a gloomy expression. Actually, being rejected was within his expectations. However, he never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would reject him so resolutely, without even the slightest bit of hesitation. Even if he was willing to pay a higher price, the other party was still not moved at all. Looking at the tightly closed door, Chu Yingming's gaze gradually dimmed. He swept his gaze over the surrounding people before turning to leave. Everyone couldn't help but sigh as they looked at the figure shrouded in haze. I'm afraid that Chu Yingming really has no other way, so he thought of coming here to ask for help. Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but sigh. If his foundation is really destroyed, then it won't be long before we won't see Chu Yingming again. Right now, I feel that Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou are really troublemakers. If it weren't for them, Chu Yingming would probably still be very impressive. Lin Taxing sighed faintly. Life was like this. Sometimes when a wrong decision was made, one would have to pay a great price, and there might be no room for redemption in one's entire life. Chapter 5145. Master, if Chu Yingming finds out that you've done something to him, wouldn't he die from anger? Xiao He jumped onto the table and stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. It was now admiring its master more and more. Her ability to twist right from wrong was simply admirable. Not only did she shift the blame to Xiao Sou and the others, but she also cleared herself of any involvement. From everyone's reaction, it was clear that no one suspected its master. Probably, Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow and said nonchalantly, she won't find out anyway. She didn't tell anyone else about this. Aside from Beichen and Xiren, no one else knew about this, so she wasn't worried about it being leaked. It turned out that she didn't mind being found out. She just thought that the effect of framing someone else was pretty good, so she chose to keep it a secret. That makes sense. Xiao He nodded in agreement. Ever since you've been with Master for so long, you've become more and more two-faced. Thank you for the compliment. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Your skin is getting thicker as well. Xiao He, have you been itching for a beating recently? No, I'm saying that you've become more and more powerful. Xiao He quickly waved its hand. It didn't want to be taught a lesson by its master. Right, Master, you've been in closed-door cultivation for so long. Why haven't you seen Baisher? Xiao He moved closer to Bailey Hongzhuang. Back then, Baisher had gone into the pet space to break through, so it hadn't seen him again. Now, Baisher must have broken through to the Nebula realm and could transform into a human. It was very curious what Baisher would look like after transforming into a human. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. That's right. Baisher has been in there for so long. He should have broken through a long time ago, right? Her ink-black phoenix eyes flickered with a thoughtful light. How long do you mystical beasts need to transform into a human? Xiao Hei was slightly taken aback. I haven't transformed into a human yet. Even if you ask me such a question, I don't know. You've already broken through to the nebula realm, so why can't you take human form? Upon hearing this, Xiao Hei's face fell. Master, you're really touching a sore spot. The original owner said that because Xiao Bai and I were created by them, we were different from ordinary demonic beasts in many ways. As for whether or not we can take human form, even the original master himself doesn't know. There was a trace of surprise in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. She had been cultivating in the light pool and did not hear the conversation between Xiao Hei and Bai Yunjiao. After Xiao Hei finished speaking, she lowered her head. Her face was filled with disappointment. Previously, it had been hoping that it would have a chance to transform into a human form, but it did not expect that its hopes would be dashed. Little one, you're not fit to be sad. Bailey Hongzhuang stretched out her hand and stroked Xiao Hei's furry head. Actually, I think that it's good for you to stay like this. You're so cute. Xiao Hei suddenly raised her head. Blinking her eyes, they shone brightly. She asked excitedly, Master, do you really think that I'm cute? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Of course. You've always been very cute. Xiao Hei's little face instantly turned red. Her furry white fur was dyed crimson. It was extremely obvious. Chapter 5146. Although Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know how to make Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai transform into human forms, she firmly believed that even if they didn't know about it, it didn't mean it didn't exist. Just because they hadn't found a way now didn't mean they wouldn't find one in the future. Hearing the deep concern in Bailey Hongzhuang's voice, Xiao Hei smiled happily. Master, as long as I can stay by your side, I don't care whether I'm in human or beast form. Bailey Hongzhuang pinched Xiao Hei's little cheeks as she tried to contact White Lion. She didn't know how long it would take for a monster to transform. She was afraid that she would disturb it if she took the initiative to contact it. However, she still decided to ask in the end. White Lion, have you succeeded in transforming? Master, I've succeeded. White Lion's voice was less childish and more magnetic. Hearing this familiar yet unfamiliar voice, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. She could make some deductions from this voice. Then why haven't you come out yet? Bailey Hongzhuang asked curiously. I could sense that Master had been in closed-door cultivation all this while, so I was waiting for you to contact me. As contracted beasts, they had a telepathic connection to begin with. To White Lion, staying in the pet space for a while longer was nothing. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang understood at once and sighed at White Lion's thoughtfulness. Then come out now. We're already on the flying magic artifact on our way back. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Let's see what you look like now. I'm really curious about what you look like now. Master, can you prepare a set of clothes for me? White Lion's voice was hesitant and awkward. Clearly, it felt very awkward about this question. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang understood at once. I forgot about that. Wait here, I'll go get the clothes from Beichen. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang headed to Di Beichen's room. Beichen, lend me a set of your clothes first. Bailey Hongzhuang extended her right hand and looked at Di Beichen with a smile. Di Beichen slapped Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and pulled her into his arms. Holding her soft waist that felt so good to the touch, Di Beichen leaned in closer and asked, Wife, why do you need men's clothes? I'm not telling you. Bailey Hongzhuang's exquisite face was filled with pride's beautiful. Be honest. I s to give it sss. Di Beichen paused and raised his brows. It looks like my wife is planning to do something with me tonight? Do something? What did you say? I can't be bothered with you. Bailey Hongzhuang hammered her chest and said, I won't joke with you. White Lion has already transformed into a human. I don't have men's clothes, so I can only come and get them from you. Hearing this, Di Bei Chen's lips curled into a smile. Baisher has already transformed into a human form? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and the next moment, Baisher appeared in front of them. However, White Lion was still in his beast form. Di Beichen immediately took out a set of clothes and placed it on the table. Luckily, I have some new clothes here. You can change into them. Chapter 51-47. The two of them and the three beasties stood outside the door in anticipation. They really wanted to see White Lion in his human form. I hope White Lion is a handsome and elegant man. Xiao Xuanzi's eyes shone with anticipation. At least he's half as handsome as me. Xiao Xuanzi, you've become more and more shameless recently. Little White reached out and touched its head. If one were to talk about handsomeness, the White Lion was also extremely handsome in his beast form. That's because you don't understand, Xiao Xuanzi retorted. I'm definitely first class in our mystical fire demon rock, okay? Just take it that way. What do you mean take it that way? Xiao Xuanzi flew onto Xiao Bai's head in dissatisfaction. As the saying goes, like master, like beast. Don't tell me you think the male master isn't handsome and elegant enough? Following Xiao Xuanzi's words, Di Beichen's gaze also turned to Xiao Bai. Little White was instantly stunned and hurriedly said, Of course master is handsome, suave, and elegant. Di Beichen then retracted his gaze, and Xiao Bai quietly heaved a sigh of relief. Right at this moment, the tightly shut door suddenly opened. Immediately after, a tall and straight figure entered everyone's line of sight. The man wore a purple brocade robe embroidered with ink and bamboo, which made his handsome figure even more noble and imposing. His long white hair was soft and bright like silk. At this moment, it was draped behind his head, casual but did not lose its elegance. His handsome and resolute facial features were sharp and angular, shining brilliantly, revealing a resolute and heroic spirit. His pair of light purple eyes were like gemstones, deep and charming, exuding a bewitching beauty. When he smiled, the corners of his lips curled up slightly, with a lazy elegance. His every move exuded elegance and grandeur. At first glance, he was completely an exotic handsome man, making people unable to take their eyes off him. Wow! The three beasties could not help but exclaim. I thought that White Lion would become a muscular and handsome man. I didn't expect him to be so handsome. Xiao He stared at White Lion in a daze. This level of handsomeness is on the same level as the male master. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others agreed with Xiao He's words. The moment White Lion walked out, he attracted everyone's attention. Oh my God, White Lion, you're so cool. Xiao Xuanzi excitedly flew onto Baisher's shoulder. Now it seems that you and I are equally handsome. Baisher looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. His handsome and devilish face was a little shy and stiff. This was the first time he had shown himself as a human, so he wasn't used to it. Master, White Lion, you're really too good-looking. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sparkled with excitement, and she couldn't stop smiling. Even though she had already guessed that White Lion would be extremely handsome in his human form, seeing it with her own eyes still gave her an indescribable shock. This was the first time she had seen such a bewitching and mysterious charm. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's praise, the stiffness on White Lion's face dissipated a little, and a smile appeared on his face. His smile instantly became even more beautiful. From now on, I'll have two handsome men by my side. Just thinking about it makes me so happy. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but sigh. Her eyes were filled with a smug smile. Di Beichen looked at the little woman beside him who was getting carried away, and quietly reached out to pull her to his side. Chapter 51-48. Baisher was slightly taken aback. He rubbed his head out of habit and asked in confusion, Huh? Bailey Hongzhuang sized Baisher up with a smile. She never thought that this little cutie would be so handsome after transforming into a human. Thinking of how domineering she would look with Di Beichen and Baisher by her side, She thought of how domineering she would be when she walked out. She knew that she would definitely become the object of envy of countless women. After all, not everyone could have such luck with women. Actually, it's nothing much, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled blissfully. Baisher has always been with me anyway. Wife, come in with me. I have something to tell you. Huh! Before Bailey Hongzhuang could say anything, Di Beichen pulled her away. Baisher, the four of you should have a good gathering. We'll talk about the rest tomorrow. As soon as he finished speaking, the door slammed shut. Beichen, what do you want to talk to me about? Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask. I haven't finished talking to Baisher and the rest. Before she could finish speaking, Di Beichen pressed Bailey Hongzhuang against the wall. With one hand against the wall and the other around her waist, he restrained her so that she could not move at all. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Beichen in a daze. In the next second, Di Beichen's lips blocked all her words in her throat. His sexy thin lips were domineering and passionate. They were like a violent storm, yet they carried a unique gentleness. After being stunned for a short while, Bailey Hongzhuang lost herself in this passionate passion. The atmosphere gradually became ambiguous. Di Beichen only released her when he sensed that the little woman in his arms was out of breath. Lowering his head, Di Beichen looked at the delicate little face with blushing cheeks and a slightly dazed gaze. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, looking devilishly charming. Wife, I feel like you're quite free tonight? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled guiltily. Actually, it's not that bad. Then your husband will help you find something to do. The corners of Di Beichen's lips curled up, and his handsome face became even more enchanting. His nimble hands had already begun to move. Where are my clothes? I just took it off when I felt it was in the way. White Lion and the others might still be waiting for us. It's okay. They've all grown up. They'll understand. What about Xiao Xuanzi? Ignore it. In another room, the four beasts looked at each other, not understanding what was going on. Why do I feel like there was something wrong with the atmosphere just now? Xiao Hei scratched its head, but it could not pinpoint exactly what was wrong. I don't know either. Xiao Bai was a little puzzled. It doesn't seem like anything happened. Forget it. It's too difficult for us to think about how humans think. Xiao Hei waved its hand and its gaze landed on White Lion. White Lion, you're so good-looking. Are you planning to find a human or a beast as your wife in the future? Xiao Hei, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to White Lion? Xiao Xuanzi asked with a smile. White Lion is so handsome. Which beast wouldn't like him? Xiao Bai touched its face and its eyes kept blinking. The way I bullied you in the past was just an illusion. I'm actually very gentle and kind. Chapter 51-49. You've already transformed into a human, of course you have to find someone. If you really can't do it, you have to find a demonic beast that can transform into a human. Xiao Bai said seriously. Bai Shi looked at Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai in front of him in confusion. You guys are thinking too much. Forget it, I'd better go and cultivate. I think so too. Xiao Xuanzi nodded and immediately followed Bai Shi into the house. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang only woke up when the sun was high in the sky. She raised her head and looked at Di Beichen, who was sitting at the table with a smile on his face. She could not help but pout. It was all because of this guy that she had to rest in bed for so long. However, the initiator of all this acted as if nothing had happened. She felt so unbalanced. Wife, you're up, Di Beichen said with concern as he took a sip of tea. A devilish smile appeared on his handsome face. Humph! Bailey Hongzhuang snorted coldly. I'll ignore you. Seeing this, Di Beichen put down his teacup and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. He planted a kiss on her lips and said with a smile, Looks like my wife still wants to accompany your husband tonight. Otherwise, why would you be so shy? Husband. Chapter 51-50. All right, don't be so resentful. Bailey Hongzhuang reached out and pinched Xiao Hei's chubby little face. When you transform into human form in the future, I'll give you a nice-sounding name, alright? Xiao Hei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with teary eyes. Master, are you sure you're comforting me? Bailey Hongzhuang felt guilty. I think so. Initially, Bailey Hongzhuang had intended to introduce Yan Che to everyone immediately. However, after some thought, she decided to wait until she had made a decision. If it was possible, she did not intend to let everyone know that Yan Che was a demon beast who had transformed into human form. Although this was the truth and was not a big deal, she still did not want to be gossiped about as soon as he appeared. After that, Bailey Hongzhuang entered closed-door cultivation to refine pills while the four beasts began to cultivate in peace. Ever since they had seen Bai Shi transform into human form, Xiao Hei, Xiao Bai, and Xiao Xuanzi seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Usually, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai liked to slack off and enjoy the show. In comparison, Bai Shi and Xiao Xuanzi were more hard-working in their cultivation. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang was rather surprised when Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai had taken the initiative to enter closed-door cultivation. However, she quickly understood that Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai were also hoping to transform into human form. Although she did not know what cultivation level they had to reach before they had the possibility of transforming into human form, the higher their cultivation level, the greater the possibility. Inside the house, Bailey Hongzhuang took out the immortal spirit herbs and looked at Jun Lingxuan's ring that Bai Shi had picked up earlier. She then put all the immortal spirit herbs together. Fortunately, this treasure had not ended up in Jun Lingxuan's hands. Otherwise, it would have been a reckless waste of God's gift. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang entered the Chaos Ring. Refining in the Chaos Ring was undoubtedly the quietest. There was no need to worry about being disturbed. She didn't immediately start concocting the immortal herbs, but started concocting other pills. Concocting pills also required a sense of touch. Ever since she entered the immortal cloud mystic realm, she had not concocted pills for a long time. She did not want to waste even a single stalk of immortal spiritual grass. Half a month later, Bailey Hongzhuang finally came out of the Chaos Ring. Wife, you're done. Di Beichen smiled as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. After he felt the fluctuation of aura, he immediately exited his cultivation state. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. You're lucky. My wife is competing with strength. Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips curved into a smile. I've only refined a portion of it, but it's enough for everyone. Then let's go. I'm sure everyone will be very happy to see you. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with tenderness. He reached out and carried Bailey Hongzhuang to sit on his lap. You can rest for a while too. You're so busy every day. Isn't it tiring? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and pecked Di Beichen on the lips. When we return, I'll cultivate with you in the room, all right? All right. Di Beichen nodded. But I'll have to collect some interest first. In the next moment, Di Beichen deepened the kiss. When Di Xiaofeng saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, a trace of shock surfaced in his eyes. You've come out of seclusion? Di Beichen nodded. Chapter 51-51. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly. I was originally in closed-door cultivation, but there's a small trade fair these 2 days, so I came out to take a look. A small trade fair? Di Beichen raised his eyebrows and asked. This time, everyone more or less gained something in the immortal cloud secret realm, so after someone suggested it, everyone agreed. Through this small trade fair, you can exchange for what you need. Of course, whether the trade will be successful or not is another matter, but it's good to watch the show and see who gained more things. Di Xiaofeng's expression was a bit playful. In the end, this small trade fair is another way to show off. After arriving at this flying magic tool, everyone is basically safe and doesn't have to worry about danger or robbery. Even after arriving at Waterqi City, people from the various large clans will come to pick them up, so there's no need to worry about danger. So, taking this opportunity to show off your gains is undoubtedly very satisfying. Following Di Xiaofeng's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng immediately understood. So the trade wasn't the main point, but bragging was. So, the success rate of this trade fair isn't high. Di Beichen said faintly. That's right. Di Xiaofeng nodded, but there are some that succeed, but it's relatively rare. After all, this is a barter. Unless the other party happens to have something they want, it's hard to make a deal. Then let's go take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up. Since they had nothing to do now, they might as well go and watch the show. That's right, since you guys just came out of closed-door cultivation, it's good to go and watch the show. Who knows, you might really find something you like. As Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng followed Di Xiaofeng to the location of the small trade fair, they realized that there were places everywhere on this flying magic tool. Obviously, this small trade fair had a long history, and it wasn't the first time it was held. Hongzhuang, over here. As soon as they arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang saw Lin Qianqian sitting not far away and waving at her. There were a few empty seats beside her, which were clearly left behind on purpose. Seeing Lin Qianqian greet Hongzhuang, Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but feel helpless. Hongzhuang's position has completely replaced mine now. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. It's always easy to get close between women. That's true. Di Xiaofeng nodded. But you're not just to women, you're also in the eyes of men. Thank you for the compliment. My wife's ability has always been outstanding. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows slightly, his words revealing a bit of pride. Di Xiaofeng glanced at Di Beichen. I'm not praising you. What's the difference? She is my wife. Di Beichen said matter-of-factly, and my wife's skin is thin. Go away. Di Xiaofeng waved his hand speechlessly. Can you not show off your love in front of me? I'm reminding you to bring your wife home early so that your family won't worry. After Bailey Hongzhuang sat down, Lin Qianqian and Lin Yi hurriedly came over. When they didn't know Bailey Hongzhuang, they still had some misunderstandings in their hearts, but as they gradually understood, there was only admiration in their hearts. Chapter 51-52. Second cousin-in-law, I wanted to look for you before, but I knew that you were in close cultivation, so I didn't bother you. Lin Yi smiled and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Did you just come out of close cultivation? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Yeah, I wanted to look for you when I came out. I happened to meet my big brother. He said that there was a small trade fair, so we came over. I see. Lin Qianqian understood. Is there anything you need from us? There is something. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, looked around again, and said, I will tell you when we go back. Lin Qianqian naturally knew that this was not a good time to talk, so they nodded. Okay. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, Chu Yingming's expression became very complicated. When he thought about how he put down his dignity to ask for help a few days ago, but was still rejected, he also felt ashamed. However, at this time, he was no longer in the mood to hate Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't do anything wrong in this regard. If it were him, he would also refuse. Young master, this Bailey Hongzhuang is too unappreciative. You have already given her such good conditions, but she still doesn't agree. Chu Xianzi said with dissatisfaction. Chu Yingming shook his head. In the end, I made the wrong decision before. If I didn't believe in Jun Lingxuan, things wouldn't have come to this point. Seeing the change in Chu Yingming's attitude, Chu Xianzi was a little puzzled. Big brother, what's wrong with you? Xianzi, we have to see the situation clearly. The talents of Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang are amazing. You have seen their means this time. If it weren't for the wrong decision, I wouldn't have chosen to offend them at all. Chu Yingming's eyes sank slightly, and his determined face showed wisdom. He was a person who only valued benefits, but he was not a person who was blindly arrogant. Therefore, he could calm down and look at all this. Big brother, if it weren't for them, your jade toad wouldn't have been crippled like this. Chu Xianzi had an incredulous look on his face. In his opinion, Di Baichen and the others were their enemies. They are indeed very strong, but we are not necessarily afraid of them. No, I have a feeling that there's no benefit in being their enemy. Chu Yingming's voice was filled with certainty. In short, if we can avoid provoking them, then we shouldn't provoke them. They aren't the type of people who actively seek trouble. Seeing this, Chu Xianzi sighed. Big brother, what about your injuries? Forget it, let's wait until we get back and find a doctor. Chu Yingming sighed, clearly unwilling to bring up this topic again. Bailey Hongzhuang also noticed Chu Yingming's gaze. After a glance, she withdrew her gaze. Hongzhuang, I heard that Chu Yingming went to see Dr. Sun a while ago, but the results didn't seem to be good. Lin Qianqian raised her eyebrows. He deserves it. Dr. Sun? Lin Qianqian nodded. Because every time we leave the Immortal Cloud secret realm, cultivators will be injured, so there will always be a doctor accompanying us when we go back. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. She was indeed very considerate. Chapter 51-53. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Chu Yingming indifferently. She did not feel any sympathy for him. The reason why Chu Yingming ended up like this was because of his own choice. If he had not wanted to deal with them back then, he would not have ended up in such a situation. Just as everyone was talking, a figure suddenly appeared on the circular stage in the center. Everyone was very familiar with this figure. He was the deacon who would lead everyone back this time, Deacon Zheng. Deacon Zheng looked at the group of young cultivators sitting below the stage and spoke in a loud and dignified voice. Although this small trade fair was proposed by everyone at the last minute, as the deacon who would lead the team, I still have to say a few rules. The trade fair will be conducted according to one's preferences. The cultivators will first introduce their own items and then state what they want to exchange. The cultivators who want to exchange can send their items over through the conveyor belt. The person who wants to exchange can then choose whether or not they want to exchange. This trade fair does not allow signs of forced transactions. Furthermore, the items that the person who is exchanging are also not allowed to be publicized. If anyone does not abide by the rules, don't blame me for being rude. Deacon Zheng's gaze swept across everyone present. Feeling his sharp gaze, a trace of fear quietly appeared on everyone's faces. As the deacon who would lead the team, he was very capable. If anyone dared to disobey the rules, their family would definitely be punished. It would be difficult for them to enter the Immortal Cloud secret realm next time. Therefore, no cultivator would choose to cause trouble at this time. After Bailey Hongzhuang heard the trade method, a trace of astonishment appeared in her eyes. Normal trades were not like this. In that case, other than the two parties who chose to exchange, no one would know what the other party was exchanging. Not every cultivator is willing to show their treasures to others. This method is also to protect privacy. Lin Taxing explained. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Although this was the first time she had encountered such a method, she felt that it was very good. Very soon, a cultivator walked up to him. I have a piece of Star Ocean Essence iron here. It can be used to forge magic weapons. There's no need to say more about its effects. A proud smile appeared on the man's face. A fist-sized piece of Star Ocean Essence iron appeared in everyone's sight. The black stone reflected specks of light, like a sea of stars. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw the Star Ocean Essence iron. Any cultivator who knew a little about refining would know how rare this Star Ocean Essence iron was. When refining weapons, as long as a little Star Ocean Essence iron was added, the power of the weapon would increase by a level. The fist-sized Star Ocean Essence iron in the other party's hand was truly extremely precious. Immediately, everyone's hearts burned with passion. Their gazes were tightly focused on the Star Ocean Essence iron, wishing that they could immediately take it into their pockets. I want to exchange for a body cultivation technique. However, as soon as the man finished speaking, everyone frowned. Most cultivators paid attention to the improvement of their cultivation base. There were very few body tempering techniques, let alone a body tempering technique that was worthy of this Starcy essence iron. Thus, the crowd could only sigh and feast their eyes on it. The man was not surprised to see this result. After confirming that no one could replace him, he walked off the stage. Chapter 51-54. What a pity! That Star Ocean Iron Essence is a good treasure. Bailey Yunyan could not help but sigh. Everyone would want such a treasure. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng smiled. Don't even think about it. That's a member of the Qin clan. The Qin clan specializes in weapon refinement. He would never take out such a treasure to exchange. The reason why he stood up now was just to show off his gains. The Star Ocean Iron Essence is a rare treasure. It seems that he has gained a lot in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. I see. Bailey Yunyan immediately understood. Although she was a cultivator from the Bailey family, she did not have much experience in such activities. Hence, she only understood after Di Xiaofeng's explanation. After the cultivator from the Qin clan left the stage, a few more cultivators went up one after another. Unsurprisingly, the items that were taken out were all first-class treasures. The crowd below the stage could not help but feel envious when they saw the treasures. No matter what kind of treasure it was, it would be fought over on a normal day. Through this process, everyone realized how many treasures there were in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. Even though it was only opened once every 10 years, there were still many treasures that had not been discovered yet. Of course, the most abundant were various spiritual herbs. After all, the Immortal Cloud secret realm had always been famous for various spiritual herbs. Many of the spiritual herbs were rarely seen in the outside world. Bailey Hongzhuang also saw many precious spiritual herbs. Fortunately, she had gained a lot this time as well. Hence, she was able to remain calm. Similarly, a few cultivators also succeeded in the exchange. However, no one knew what the other party was going to use in exchange for it. The cultivators who succeeded in the exchange were all smiling. To be able to succeed in the exchange under such circumstances, it was clear that the other party had taken out something that they were satisfied with. Similarly, if the cultivator took out something that was too inferior and did not match the value of the other party's item, they would also be laughed at by the crowd. At this moment, the item that a cultivator took out attracted Bailey Hongzhuang's attention. I have 3 spirit beast fruits here. Following the man's words, everyone's eyes instantly focused on him. The spiritual beast fruit had no effect on humans, but it was quite useful to demonic beasts. It was able to help demonic beasts increase their aptitude and speed up their cultivation. This kind of treasure was undoubtedly very important to cultivators who had contracted beasts. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Di Beichen, and then her eyes fell on Xiao Xuanzi. As a beast king, the White Lion's aptitude naturally went without saying after its bloodline power had been upgraded. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation talents were equally outstanding. If not for the fact that the two of them were usually a little lazy, their cultivation levels would be even higher than now. Therefore, the one who needed to be improved the most was Xiao Xuanzi. Naturally, Xiao Xuanzi also felt the gazes of the two people. He immediately smiled, and his eyes flashed with an expectant light. The spirit beast fruit was a treasure that demonic beasts loved the most. If it could obtain a beast spirit fruit, its strength would be greatly enhanced. However, Xiao Xuanzi only thought about it for a moment before withdrawing his expectant gaze. After all, it was extremely difficult to trade for the beast spirit fruit here. Chapter 51-55. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Luo, but many of the cultivators present were also looking forward to it. As a cultivator, it was not easy to raise one's own strength. If a demonic beast could also possess powerful strength, it would undoubtedly be extremely good. At the very least, he would have an additional helper that he could completely trust. I haven't thought of what I want to exchange for yet. If anyone thinks that there is something of value, you are welcome to exchange it with me. The man's face was filled with a faint smile as he looked calmly at the crowd below the stage. Master, you can do that? Xiaobai could not help but ask in surprise. Di Baichen looked at Di Xiaofeng and Di Xiaofeng immediately explained, "This is indeed possible. Some cultivators are just aimless. Of course, this method can easily lead to unexpected gains. However, 3 beast spirit fruits are very valuable. Ordinary items really can't be exchanged for them." Di Xiaofeng sighed. Everything that appeared here were good treasures. However, it was not easy to exchange for them. Speaking of this trip to the Immortal Cloud secret realm, his greatest gain was the increase in his own strength. His other gains could not be compared to these guys. Jiang Wenyan saw that the crowd was somewhat conflicted and said, "The 3 beast spirit fruits can also be exchanged separately." As soon as he said that, the cultivators who were still hesitating immediately became restless. It was difficult to have treasures that could be exchanged for 3 beast spirit fruits at the same time. However, if it was only one fruit, everyone still had some asset. Almost at the next moment, a cultivator had already walked up to the stage and placed the item that he had chosen to exchange on the conveyor belt. Everyone's gaze was focused on it. After seeing the treasure, Jiang Wenyan did not choose to exchange for it. When he saw that his treasure was returned, he understood the result. However, he did not say much and walked down the stage. After this cultivator walked down the stage, a few other cultivators walked up one after another. Unsurprisingly, they all returned empty-handed. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. It seems that Jiang Wenyan has high standards. So many people did not take out any treasures that caught his eye. The Jiang family that Jiang Wenyan belongs to is not ordinary. They have been passed down for many years and their foundation is shocking. Jiang Wenyan is also the most outstanding genius of the Jiang family. He has abundant cultivation resources. I'm afraid that ordinary items will not catch his eye. That's right. Lin Ta Xing nodded. If it is not a rare treasure, he will not exchange it. At this moment, a cultivator from the Qin family stood up again. He did not choose to trade through the teleportation array, but asked directly, "Jiang Wenyan, how about I use the Star Sea Iron Essence to trade for these 3 spirit beast fruits?" As Lin Feng said this, the crowd could not help but sigh. The stars the same spirit star. The stars exchanges the spirit beast spirit. After Jiang Wenyan heard this, a trace of hesitation flashed through his eyes. In the end, he shook his head and said, "Brother Qin, your Star Ocean Essence Iron is indeed a treasure. It's a pity that I'm not good at refining." Hearing this, the cultivators of the Qin family felt somewhat helpless. However, Jiang Wenyan's attitude was extremely good. He laughed heartily all over the place. "It's all right. If Brother Jiang wants to trade in the future, you can come to me anytime." Chapter 51-56. Everyone sighed when they saw that the Star Ocean Essence Iron was not successfully traded. The 3 beast spirit fruits are indeed valuable. If I could get them, my contracted beast would be able to evolve again. Maybe not only would it evolve, but its bloodline power would also be enhanced and it would have greater potential for development. It's a pity that I don't think anyone will be able to trade for it today. Jiang Wenyan's gaze swept across the crowd before he cupped his fists and smiled. "It seems that I won't be able to trade today. Sorry for disturbing you." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Jiang Wenyan's polite appearance, her heart somewhat surprised. Although they were all disciples of aristocratic families and it was necessary to be polite, it was obvious that Jiang Wenyan was a very gentlemanly person. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang walked up to the stage in front of everyone's astonished eyes. The Di family's Bailey Hongzhuang has gone up. So many people have failed. Could it be that she has a treasure more valuable than the Star Ocean Essence Iron? That's hard to say. After all, she obtained the inheritance from the ruins. She might have a very precious treasure. The cultivator's eyes were filled with anticipation. They also wanted to know what kind of treasure Bailey Hongzhuang would take out. Di Xiaofeng was surprised. Beichen, what is Hongzhuang planning to trade for it? Di Beichen smiled. Hongzhuang has her own plans. Could it be the immortal spirit herb? Di Xiaofeng's eyes were filled with thoughts, however. Although the immortal spirit herb is valuable, the success rate of refining it into a pill is not high. It requires an extremely skilled alchemist to refine it, and the success rate is not guaranteed. To ask the Alchemist Guild's high-level alchemist to refine the pill, the price is not small. If it's just the immortal spirit herb, it would be difficult to trade for the beast spirit fruit. Unless it's the immortal spirit pill. Although they had obtained many immortal spirit herbs, Di Xiaofeng judged that Bailey Hongzhuang would not take out several immortal spirit herbs to trade. After all, such a treasure would be of great use to their family. Jiang Wenyan had originally planned to leave, but after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, his footsteps also stopped. Miss Bailey. An elegant smile appeared on Jiang Wenyan's handsome face. His gaze was unusually gentle. Not for other reasons, but because Bailey Hongzhuang was also his savior, so he was naturally grateful. I didn't think that Miss Bailey would be interested in this spirit beast fruit as well. At this moment, I shall give this spirit beast fruit to Miss Bailey as a token of my gratitude for your help back then. Jiang Wenyan handed a beast spirit fruit to Bailey Hongzhuang. Actually, this one has always wanted to find an opportunity to thank you all. I hope you don't mind. Jiang Wenyan's actions had clearly exceeded everyone's expectations. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Di Xiaofeng and the others also looked at each other, and their impression of Jiang Wenyan improved. I didn't expect Jiang Wenyan to be such a nice person. Lin Taxing couldn't help but sigh, but a smile appeared on his face. Among so many forces, no one is like him. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly. That's right, no wonder Jiang Wenyan is so popular in their family. He is truly a modest gentleman. Since you and Beichen have already found someone you like, Jiang Wenyan has been promoted to become the object of many women's hearts. Chapter 51-57. When the crowd saw that Jiang Wenyan was willing to give the beast spirit fruit to Bailey Hongzhuang, they were all dumbfounded. This Jiang Wenyan is really evil. He's actually willing to give the beast spirit fruit to Bailey Hongzhuang just like that. The D clan has really struck it rich this time. The spirit beast fruit itself is a rare treasure. Every time it appears in an auction, it will be fought over by various major forces. If one does not have the opportunity, it will not be easy to find one. Based on what I can see, Bailey Hongzhuang is standing there with this intention in mind. There was a tinge of jealousy in their envious voices. How could they not be envious of Bailey Hongzhuang for being able to obtain the treasure that everyone wanted so easily? However, just as the crowd was sighing, Bailey Hongzhuang's actions exceeded everyone's expectations. Thank you for your kind intentions, Sir Jiang. However, I cannot accept this beast spirit fruit. Jiang Wenyan was shocked. Why? Previously in the Divine Cloud Secret Realm, we may have helped you, Sir Jiang, but it was also for our own protection. If I were to take such a precious treasure from you because of this, it would be very inappropriate. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a small smile. Without waiting for Jiang Wenyan to reject her, she continued, Since I'm standing here, I naturally intend to exchange my treasures. Jiang Wenyan's gaze changed when he saw the other party's serious expression, which did not seem to be an act. Instantly, the smile on his face grew even more radiant. I've underestimated you, Miss Bailey. I'm truly sorry. A sense of shame surfaced in Jiang Wenyan's heart. In the face of Bailey Hongzhuang's open and above-board manner, he felt that his previous actions were rather inappropriate. Clearly, the other party was not the type to take advantage of others. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Sir Jiang, you're being too courteous. Why are you apologizing? By the way, this is the treasure that I've chosen to exchange. You can decide after you've seen it. Bailey Hongzhuang placed the item on the conveyor belt and appeared in front of Jiang Wenyan in the next moment. Jiang Wenyan had already decided that no matter what Bailey Hongzhuang brought out in exchange, he would be willing to use a spirit beast fruit to exchange for it. However, when he saw what was in front of him, he could not help but be shocked. "Miss Bailey, is this true?" Although the crowd could not see what Bailey Hongzhuang had taken out, they knew that the item Bailey Hongzhuang had taken out was not simple after seeing the change in Jiang Wenyan's expression. Otherwise, Jiang Wenyan would definitely not reveal such an expression. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, her voice calm and certain. "That's right, it's true." Jiang Wenyan took a deep breath. Looking at the brocade box in front of him, his hands trembled slightly. Immortal Spirit Pill, this was truly a rare pill. Not to mention the fact that immortal spiritual herbs were hard to find and the failure rate of concocting was extremely high. Trying to find an immortal spiritual pill was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Even with the Jiang family's power, it would be extremely difficult to find one. He had never even considered the possibility of having an immortal spiritual pill. However, this immortal spiritual pill was now right in front of him. As long as he took the immortal spiritual pill, his potential would increase. This was a benefit that no other pill could compare to. Chapter 51-58. Although the beast spirit fruit was usually hard to find, it was still possible to find it in some secret realms. However, immortal spiritual pills were the real priceless ones. In the next moment, Jiang Wenyan handed all 3 beast spirit fruits to Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. "Thank you, Miss Bailey." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the 3 beast spirit fruits in front of her and did not find it strange at all. The value of the immortal spirit pill was indeed worth it. When everyone saw that Jiang Wenyan had handed all 3 beast spirit fruits to Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes were filled with shock. It can't be? In the end, what did Bailey Hongzhuang take out in exchange for Jiang Wenyan to willingly give up all 3 spirit beast fruits? Jiang Wenyan didn't look reluctant at all. On the contrary, he was extremely happy, as if he had picked up a great bargain. What could be more precious than the Star Ocean Iron Essence? Judging from Di Xiaofeng and the others' expressions, they didn't seem to know what Bailey Hongzhuang had offered. Di Xiaofeng and the others looked at each other. They had been very surprised when Bailey Hongzhuang had rejected the offer, and the subsequent change had surprised them even more. "It seems that we have underestimated the treasures on Hongzhuang's body." Lin Taxing could not help but chuckle as he joked. Di Xiaofeng nodded. "Indeed, Hongzhuang may be the richest in our group. Isn't that so?" Lin Qianqian agreed. "Hongzhuang is the deacon of the Alchemist Guild. If it wasn't for the fact that she had just arrived in the upper realm, she would be even richer." Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang walked down from the high platform. Shangguan Yingying could not help but ask, "Hongzhuang, what did you offer in exchange? Take a guess?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and chuckled. "I can't make a guess." Shangguan Yingying frowned. Every once in a while, new treasures would appear on Hongzhuang's body. She really could not tell. "Hongzhuang, let me guess." Lin Qianqian's eyes lit up. Could it be the treasure we obtained in the Immortal Cloud secret realm? It was obvious that Lin Qianqian did not want others to know what she was talking about. However, Bailey Hongzhuang naturally understood what she meant. "No." "Huh." Lin Qianqian sighed. "It's not you. But the two are related." Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She had no intention of hiding what she was going to exchange. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Xiaofeng and the others couldn't help but look at each other. Their pupils instantly widened, revealing astonishment and shock. Since the two were related, the first thing they thought of was the immortal spirit pill. However, this grade of medicinal pill was extremely difficult to refine in the first place, and the success rate was another matter altogether. They knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's alchemy skills were very strong, but they never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang could really refine it. This news was simply too shocking. "Second cousin-in-law, you are too amazing." Lin Yi said in a daze. Her clear eyes were filled with excitement and admiration. Di Xiaofeng and the others also agreed. They were still thinking about how to deal with the immortal spirit grass after going back. Although there were 2 alchemists in the family, it was still difficult for them to successfully refine it with their abilities. However, if they wanted to ask other alchemy masters to refine it, they didn't know the price. Chapter 51-59. Following that, many precious treasures appeared, causing everyone's hearts to itch uncontrollably. However, if they wanted to exchange for such treasures, it was obviously impossible if the items they brought out were not rare enough. During this process, the Chu family and the Nangong family had successfully exchanged items. On the other hand, the Xiao family had kept a low profile. As for the Jun family, it was needless to say. The Jun family originally had very few cultivators. After going through the dangers of the Immortal Cloud's secret territory, they had completely integrated into the Xiao family's team and could be ignored. After obtaining the 3 beast spirit fruits, Bailey Hongzhuang did not have any other thoughts. Although there were many treasures, it was impossible for all of them to fall into her hands. She was already very lucky to be able to exchange for the treasures she needed the most. After the small trade fair ended, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to their residence. Di Xiaofeng and the others did not return to their rooms directly. Instead, they gathered in Di Beichen's room. Hongzhuang, did you really refine the immortal spiritual pill? As soon as he entered the room, Di Xiaofeng could not help but ask the question in his heart. He was simply too curious. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's answer, he had been wanting to confirm this point. Not only him, but Lin Taxing and the others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes sparkling with anticipation. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her small head gently, her rose-colored lips slightly raised. It's true. Hearing this news, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They were really worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would say no. In the next moment, a trace of joy appeared on everyone's faces. Hongzhuang actually managed to refine the immortal spiritual pill. That's really amazing. No wonder Jiang Wenyan was willing to hand over the 3 beast spirit fruits. Compared to the beast spirit fruits, the immortal spiritual pill is undoubtedly more helpful to him. Mo Yunjue immediately understood. Since Jiang Wenyan was willing to hand over the 3 beast spirit fruits, it meant that his contracted beasts no longer needed them. Of course, he would not hesitate to use such things to exchange for the treasures he desperately needed. Big brother, this is for you. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a few crystal bottles and handed them to Di Xiaofeng. While I was in seclusion, I concocted quite a few immortal spirit pills. It just so happens that we still have some time before we return to Water Prayer City. With these immortal spirit pills, everyone will be able to cultivate better. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of everyone present froze. Time seemed to have stopped as everyone stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief, as if they had heard the most impossible thing in the world. Hongzhuang, you've concocted more than one immortal spirit pill? Why did he concoct so many immortal pills? Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but raise his voice. He felt that this world was too scary. According to his understanding, the success rate of refining immortal spirit pills was extremely low. It was already very difficult for Bailey Hongzhuang to refine one. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had placed a few bottles of pills in his hands. Yeah. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded matter-of-factly. I took a look and there were enough pills for everyone to share. That's why I came out. Lin Taxing couldn't help but scratch his head. In the face of this situation, he really didn't know what to say. Wasn't it said that immortal spiritual pills were very difficult to refine? Why did Bailey Hongzhuang's words sound like cabbages that could be picked up in baskets? This didn't make sense. Not only Lin Taxing, but Lin Qianqian and the others were also filled with the same thought.